Welcome to a magical new AL-based permission system. Hey, I'm Eric, and unless you paid very good attention to the launch of BC version 18, you might have missed that we got a brand new permission system in Business Central. And the magical part here is that even though this is a brand new permission system, kind of looks like the old one. So it's not like you have to learn a lot of new things, but it's a major, under the hood, a major change. And the change is that now in version 18, permissions can be expressed as AL objects. You describe your permission in objects with all the way that objects kind of work compared to 17 and 20 years back, where permissions were all data driven. Permissions were data sitting in permissions tables. And let me show you. So here's a Business Central. So if I go into permission sets, even though this is brand new, it kind of looks like the old one. The giveaway, one of the giveaways, of course, that's okay. There's an extension column that didn't used to be there, so you can see that base app gave you a setup permission set, but system app gave you a snapshot debug permission set, and so on. And if we have an app like the Company Hub app gave us the Company Hub permission set, and so on. But if we look at permissions for something, this is a simply set up. Well, it looks and feels like the old one, but it's actually brand new. So I thought it could be fun for us to actually try to make some of this. And for that, I have found here in the archives, the YouTube archives, the point of sale app. If you haven't seen this video, I suggest you should go see how we created a simple point of sale system in Business Central. And perhaps subscribe, because I love when people subscribe, and let me know in the comments below what you think of the point of sales video and this video, and if you want me to do videos on something else. A lot of the videos I do are on directly because somebody asked, hey Eric, could you do a video on something? And I said, oh, that would be fun. Anyway, here's the point of sale app, and the great thing about this app is that it has just a single table, point of sale setup table. So it's not like we're going to spend the entire evening here setting up permissions. So let me actually create a new folder called, whoa, there we go, permissions, and I'll add an AL file in here called permission. So if I do permit, then we can see that we have two new object types. We have a permission set as an object type and a permission set extension. Let's get back to the extension a bit later in the video. So if I do permission set, I need to give it a number. So even though we kind of saw a trend of new object types were without numbers, these have numbers. Go figure. At some point, let's get rid of those numbers. So let's call this for let's call this one for point of sale admin. How about that? Wow. Curly parentheses, and now we see there's an error already. I haven't even started yet, and there's already an error, and that's because this app was actually created when the runtime version was version 5. And now we're at 7, so 5 is version 16. So we need to go into the app JSON and tell that we're actually now using version 18, and then no errors. Okay, so what can you actually do on a permission set? Well, we can give it a caption. That's always a good idea. Wow, point of sale admin. And then let's look at a property called access. So access, there's two options here. There's public. Public means that public together with assignable true means that you can assign this this permission set to user. So, but what about, we also have internal, and internal means that you can have a permission set that's not assignable to a user. So let's do permission set, create one more. And there is a bug in Visual Studio Code right now, meaning that it's not incrementing permission set object numbers. So let's call this for point of sale admin, point of sale setup admin, caption POS admin, setup admin. And say that the access to this one is internal, so that's only for mean that it cannot be assigned to a user, but we can in this one we can say included permission sets equal this guy. So let's imagine that you have a big solution and you want to keep your head straight about permissions, and in the old days that was kind of impossible, because permissions looked like this. You used the generate function and then you got an XML, and who can remember what object type 8 is? So this one was terrible in a number of ways, and now we're getting rid of it. But it actually means that now we can start to think about how to organize our permissions. So in this case, I'll create a POS setup admin, and I'll include it in the admin user. Maybe I want, let's give this a bit of permission. So let's go to permission and say that this one has, and let's look at this because this is the complicated one, which means that the help is not there, but we can try to get help, and we can see that, okay, permissions equal, let me make this a tad bigger, equal something equal, and again this is then very bad documentation because it has a table number instead. Anyway, let's do it right. Let's do right and say, okay, table data permissions equal table data, and table data, let's do the point of sale setup equal. And in the rest of the world you talk about create, read, update, delete CRUD operations. In Business Central we talk about read, insert, modify, delete operations, RIM. And you can either use uppercase meaning direct access, or you can do lowercase meaning indirect. And what does indirect mean? Well, indirect means that if a user tries to access that object directly, they're not allowed. But if they access the object through another object, they are allowed. Example, that you might have indirect access to write to the GL ledger entries. If you have access to code unit 12 post GL line, because then that one will be able to insert a GL ledger entry, but you're not able to just open the table and type something in the ledger entry itself. So indirect means that through other means you're allowed to do something. So typically, unless you are in that very, very specific scenario, you're always going to use uppercase because that's direct access. So in this case, we have a permission set now that that we have a point of sale admin and a point of sale admin, point of sale setup admin. We can try to see if there's other things. There's no other suggestion here, so we cannot include anything else. We could go and create, let's say that in this case we also need to have the hang on, let's do comma, a new line, table data, and then do general ledger setup equal the same thing. So in this case, you're also allowed to touch the general ledger setup. So we can give access to objects that are not only within our own extension, but also other extensions. And there is actually there's a wildcard. So we can do table data star equal, but that is bad on so many levels, because I saw this first and thought, hey, that's cool. So instead of having to specify all the objects that are within my extension, I can just do star and then it's all the objects that are in my extension. But that is not the case. This means all objects in the system. So this is really bad. This is the same as if we did a table data 0, or a classic code units 0, or in this case then that needs to be X, because that's executable. But anyway, be very reluctant to use the asterisks, because it's probably not what you want to do. Anyway, so now we have this one, we have a public, assignable, and a internal. So let's compile and publish and see what we get. And let's go into permission sets. And well, we have here point of sale admin, and let's look at permissions on this one. It has the exact rights that we assigned to it. That's pretty cool. Okay, so let's go back here, and one of the great thing about being in the world of code is that we can copy paste. So let's say that I want to create a 2 and a 3, and this is point of sale user, and this is, let's call this setup read. So now we're changing this guy to be read. So a couple of keystrokes, 10 seconds later, let's deploy this guy and see what we got. I think we can actually just refresh this one. We're lucky, or perhaps not. Let's do this one. Permission sets. So now we have 2 permission sets. One is an admin, another one is a user, and the user is the reduced setup. So suddenly it's way easier to actually manage and control the permissions that you supply with your app, and just you have the option of using the included thing. So we could actually go to the extreme and then remove the let's remove here just for fun, and do a permission set, and let's see, there's a number of things, still doesn't work. We'll just call it POS GL. Caption POS GL, access equal internal, and permissions are just the access to the general ledger setup. So on this one, we'll now do a include permission sets POS GL. So this was on the read. So we have the point of sale user that has POS read, that has a table, and also has the POS GL included. And then I guess I forgot a semicolon, my bad. And we're deployed. Permission. I love that I can mistype and it'll still find it. So this was the user. Let's look at permissions. And it's the exact same permissions. So even though that this thing is now 3 permission sets, one that's just the public facing, and then 2 that are related to each other. So this is, I find this very, very cool and easy to do. And on my to-do list is basically to redo permissions for all our apps, so I can make it a more pleasant user experience for my users, by actually giving some meaningful permission sets and not saying, okay, that's somebody needs to fix permissions. So that's pretty cool. So we also had the permission extension. So let's take a quick look at that. Permission extension. It doesn't really matter. Extends. So now we can take our own, but I guess that's the, let's just do that. And extend a permission set. Mean that we can now cannot be declared. Oh, but that's because I'm now accessing myself. Anyway, so I can, we're ahead of time. So we can take permission sets and extend them, give them access to our thing. So like if you want to extend the basic access and give users an option of letting you know that your app, if your app needs to be part of something, you can actually make that. So pretty cool. Last thing I want to touch before this goes way too long is the concept of what to do if you already have something. And there is a tool. I'm not gonna demo the tool. I'm just gonna make you aware of it. So on the BC Tech GitHub, so github.com/Microsoft/BC Tech, there is a we can actually go around and like, it's all called samples. That's fine. And one of the samples are called permission set conversion. And here is a PowerShell, that was the word I was looking at. PowerShell module called convert permission sets. And this one is PowerShell. This one will connect to if you have a SQL server with a database running, it connects to the database, and you can extract your current permission sets, and it will get saved as AL objects, as text files, and then you can start working on them. So if you have that need to have some permissions that's already sitting somewhere that your users has hand created and curated for a lot of time, you can convert those into AL objects. Be aware that this one requires SQL-PS, so SQL PowerShell, and unless you have that installed, you actually need to go and do installed as module, not SQL-PS, because that would be too easy. Now it's called install module SQL server, and then you get that module, and it will generate the AL objects to you. Anyway, I'm closing in on 20 minutes, and I promised myself that this video should be under 20 minutes. So I think we're gonna end it right there. This is great. I love the fact that we get something new, but we did not get something that broke all the stuff that we had. And the users can look at permissions with the same confusion as they do today, I guess. But I think we can really make some improvement in the way we give we supply permissions with our apps, with our modifications. It's so easy to work with these objects and copy and sign and stuff like that. So I love that. Until next time, let me know in the comments below if how you want to use permissions. And then until next time, have a wonderful day, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.